The cold concrete floor of the animal shelter echoed with the sounds of barking dogs and meowing cats. In the corner cage marked "Dangerous, Do Not Handle," a large brown and white pit bull named Thunder pressed himself against the back wall. His muscular frame trembled not from cold but from pure terror. Every time footsteps approached his kennel, Thunder would cower deeper into the shadows, his dark eyes filled with memories of pain and betrayal. Thunder had arrived at the Riverside Animal Shelter 3 months ago, carried in by animal control officers who found him wandering the streets with fresh wounds across his back and a broken chain still attached to his neck. The veterinarian who examined him discovered old scars that told a story of abuse and neglect. Cigarette burns dotted his ears and his teeth showed signs of being filed down, likely to make him less effective in fighting rings. Sarah Martinez, the shelter's lead behavioral specialist, had been working with traumatized animals for over 15 years. When she first laid eyes on Thunder, she saw something that others missed. Beyond the fear and aggression that made him lunge at anyone who came too close, she recognized a dog who had simply learned that humans meant pain. His aggressive displays were not born of meanness but of desperate self-preservation. Day after day, Sarah would sit outside Thunder's cage, speaking in soft, gentle tones. She never tried to reach through the bars or make direct eye contact, which she knew would trigger his fight-or-flight response. Instead, she would read books aloud, eat her lunch nearby, and simply exist in his space without demanding anything from him. Thunder would watch her cautiously from his corner, occasionally tilting his head when she spoke about the adventures in the stories she read. The other shelter workers began to worry about Thunder's future. He had been labeled as unadoptable due to his aggressive behavior toward strangers. The shelter's policy was clear about dogs who showed signs of human aggression, and Thunder's time was running out. Sarah knew that beneath the layers of trauma lived a dog who simply needed someone to show him that not all humans were monsters. One particularly quiet afternoon, as Sarah sat reading a children's book about a lost dog finding his way home, she noticed Thunder had moved closer to the front of his cage. His body was still tense, ready to retreat at any moment, but his ears were perked forward, listening intently to her voice. It was the first sign of genuine interest he had shown in anything other than the food that was slid through his cage door twice a day. Sarah's heart filled with hope as she continued reading, pretending not to notice Thunder's small step toward trust. She had seen this breakthrough moment before in other traumatized animals, but each time felt like a small miracle. Thunder was beginning to associate her voice with safety, a crucial first step in his long journey toward healing. As the weeks passed, Thunder began to show subtle changes in his behavior around Sarah. He would no longer press himself against the back wall when she arrived, and occasionally, she caught him sleeping closer to the front of his cage. These small victories gave Sarah the ammunition she needed to argue for more time when the shelter director mentioned Thunder's upcoming evaluation for euthanasia. The breakthrough came on a rainy Tuesday morning when Sarah arrived to find Thunder sitting calmly at the front of his cage, looking directly at her for the first time. His tail gave the smallest wag, barely noticeable to anyone who hadn't been studying his every movement for months. Sarah felt tears spring to her eyes as she realized Thunder was finally ready to take the next step in learning to trust again. That same afternoon, Sarah received a phone call that would change everything. A family had lost their elderly pit bull to cancer and were looking for another rescue dog to adopt. They had specifically requested a dog that others might consider unadoptable, wanting to give a second chance to an animal that needed it most. Sarah immediately thought of Thunder, but she knew the road ahead would be challenging. The family would need to understand that healing takes time, patience, and unconditional love. The Richardson family had been grieving the loss of their beloved pit bull Max for 6 months. Max had been their gentle giant, a therapy dog who had helped their 8-year-old daughter Emma through her battle with juvenile arthritis. The chronic condition left Emma with painful joints and limited mobility on her worst days. But Max had been her constant companion, seeming to sense when she needed extra comfort. David Richardson, a construction worker with calloused hands and a soft heart, had grown up around pit bulls and understood their true nature, despite the breed's negative reputation. His wife Maria was initially hesitant about getting another dog so soon after losing Max, but she could see how much Emma missed having a furry friend by her side. Emma's condition had worsened since Max's passing, and her parents noticed she spent more time alone in her room, avoiding activities she once enjoyed. When Sarah called the Richardson family about Thunder, She was honest about his history and the challenges that lay ahead. She explained that Thunder had been severely abused and would need a family willing to work patiently with his trauma. The process couldn't be rushed, and there would likely be setbacks along the way. Some dogs never fully recovered from such severe abuse, she warned, and Thunder might always carry some fear of strangers. David listened carefully to Sarah's description of Thunder's behavior and background. Something in the dog's story resonated deeply with him. He had seen enough pain in his own life to recognize the need for second chances. After discussing it with Maria and Emma, the family decided they wanted to meet Thunder, understanding that it might be weeks or even months before he would be ready to come home with them. The first meeting took place at the shelter on a quiet Saturday morning. Sarah had prepared the Richardson family for what to expect, explaining that Thunder would likely hide in the back of his cage and might show signs of fear or aggression. Emma, despite her young age, seemed to understand the seriousness of the situation. She had learned about trauma through her own medical experiences and had developed an unusual level of empathy for others who were suffering. When the family approached Thunder's cage, he immediately retreated to his corner, just as Sarah had predicted. His body language screamed fear as he pressed himself against the wall, trembling. Most potential adopters would have been discouraged by such a reaction, but David saw past the fear to the pain underneath. Emma, using her walker for support, moved slowly toward the cage and sat down on the floor without saying a word. For nearly an hour, the family sat quietly outside Thunder's cage. Emma brought a small book from her backpack and began reading aloud in her soft, gentle voice. The story was about a brave knight who had been hurt in battle and needed time to heal before he could help others again. As she read, Thunder's trembling gradually subsided and his ears began to twitch with interest. Maria watched her daughter with amazement. Emma had always been mature for her age due to her medical condition, but seeing her natural intuition with the traumatized dog was extraordinary. Emma seemed to instinctively know not to make direct eye contact or sudden movements. She simply offered her presence and her voice, asking nothing in return. By the end of their visit, Thunder had moved slightly closer to the front of his cage. It wasn't dramatic progress, but Sarah recognized it as significant. Thunder typically took weeks to show this level of comfort with new people, yet something about Emma's calm energy had reached him in just one session. Sarah scheduled several more visits, hoping to build on this promising beginning. The second visit brought even more encouraging signs. Thunder not only moved to the front of his cage, but actually approached the bars when Emma began reading. His tail remained tucked and his body stayed low to the ground, but his curiosity was clearly overcoming his fear. Emma had chosen a different book this time, one about a dog who learned to trust again after being rescued. David and Maria exchanged meaningful glances as they watched their daughter work her gentle magic with Thunder. They had seen Emma's natural ability to connect with Max, but this was different. Emma seemed to understand Thunder's trauma in a way that even surprised the adults. Later, Sarah would explain that sometimes traumatized beings recognize something familiar in each other, forming connections that others might not expect. After their third visit, Thunder allowed Emma to hold a small treat near the cage bars. He didn't take it immediately, but he sniffed in her direction and showed genuine interest. Sarah explained that this was enormous progress for a dog who had been too fearful to eat when strangers were nearby just weeks before. The trust Thunder was beginning to show toward Emma was extending to her parents as well. The Richardson family left that day knowing they had found their new family member, but they also understood that bringing Thunder home would be just the beginning of his healing journey. Sarah scheduled a home visit to assess their living situation and discuss the specific needs Thunder would have during his transition. The real test would come when Thunder left the familiar, though confined environment of the shelter for the unknown world beyond its walls. The day Thunder left the shelter was both exciting and terrifying for everyone involved. Sarah had prepared the Richardson family extensively for what to expect during the transition period. She provided them with detailed instructions about maintaining Thunder's routine, creating safe spaces in their home, and recognizing signs of stress or panic. The car ride home would be Thunder's first time outside the shelter in months, and Sarah worried about how he might react to the overwhelming sights, sounds, and smells of the outside world. David had borrowed a friend's van to transport Thunder, knowing that the large dog would need space to feel secure during the journey. They had set up a comfortable crate in the back, lined with familiar blankets from the shelter that carried Sarah's scent. Emma insisted on riding in the back near Thunder's crate, speaking to him in the same gentle voice that had first captured his attention weeks ago. Thunder's entire body shook as they loaded his crate into the van. The sounds of traffic, car doors slamming, and people talking created a symphony of terror for the traumatized dog. He had pressed himself into the smallest corner of his crate, panting heavily and drooling from stress. Emma immediately began reading from one of the books that had become their shared ritual, her voice cutting through his panic like a lighthouse beam in a storm. The 20-minute drive to the Richardson home felt like hours to everyone in the van. Thunder's distress was visible to the entire family, and they began to wonder if they had made the right decision. Maria found herself questioning whether they were equipped to help such a severely traumatized animal. What if Thunder never adapted to their home? What if his fear turned to aggression around Emma? When they arrived at the Richardson house, Thunder refused to leave his crate. No amount of coaxing or treat offering could convince him to step into this new environment. The family realized they would need to be patient and allow Thunder to emerge on his own timeline. They moved his crate into the living room and simply went about their normal evening routine, talking softly and moving slowly around the house. Emma positioned herself on the floor near Thunder's crate with her homework and books. She didn't try to interact with him directly, but simply existed in his space just as Sarah had done at the shelter. Occasionally, she would read aloud from her assignments or hum quietly while working on math problems. Thunder watched her every movement from the safety of his crate, his breathing gradually becoming less labored as the evening progressed. The first night was challenging for the entire family. Thunder whimpered and paced in his crate, clearly distressed by the unfamiliar sounds of the house settling and the neighbor's dog barking in the distance. Around midnight, Emma woke to the sound of Thunder's distress and quietly made her way to the living room. Despite her parents' protests about getting enough sleep for school the next day, Emma insisted on sleeping on the couch near Thunder's crate. Something magical happened in the quiet hours of that first night. Thunder's whimpering gradually subsided as Emma's steady breathing created a calming rhythm in the room. For the first time since his rescue, Thunder fell into a deep, peaceful sleep. Emma's presence seemed to anchor him, providing a sense of security he hadn't felt in months, perhaps years. David and Maria discovered them the next morning, both sleeping soundly. Thunder had moved to the front of his crate, as close to Emma as the bars would allow. His body was relaxed for the first time since his arrival, and his breathing was slow and steady. Emma had one small hand resting near the crate door, almost as if she were maintaining a connection with Thunder even in sleep. Over the next few days, Thunder began to show small signs of progress. He started eating his meals when Emma was nearby, though he still refused food when strangers came to visit. He would emerge from his crate when only the immediate family was present, though he stayed close to the walls and always maintained a clear path back to his safe space. Emma's natural understanding of Thunder's needs continued to amaze her parents and Sarah, who visited regularly to check on the transition. Emma seemed to know instinctively when Thunder needed space and when he might be ready for gentle interaction. She never pushed him beyond his comfort zone, but was always available when he showed signs of wanting connection. The breakthrough came during Emma's worst arthritis flare-up since Thunder's arrival. She was confined to bed rest, unable to attend school and struggling with significant joint pain. Thunder, who had been slowly exploring more areas of the house, seemed to sense her distress. For the first time since his arrival, Thunder left his crate voluntarily and slowly made his way upstairs to Emma's bedroom. Maria found them together that afternoon, Emma reading quietly in bed while Thunder lay on the floor beside her, close enough to touch but not demanding attention. It was the first time Thunder had chosen to be in a room other than the living room, and the first time he had positioned himself close to a human, without barriers between them. The sight of her daughter and their traumatized rescue dog finding comfort in each other's pain brought tears to Maria's eyes. That evening, Sarah received an excited phone call from David describing Thunder's voluntary journey to Emma's bedside. Sarah explained that traumatized animals often recognize pain in others and feel called to provide comfort, even when they are still healing themselves. Thunder's instinct to comfort Emma was a sign that his capacity for love and trust was slowly returning, piece by piece. As weeks turned into months, the bond between Thunder and Emma grew stronger with each passing day. Thunder had gradually expanded his safe zone to include Emma's bedroom, the hallway leading to it, and the living room where his crate remained as his ultimate sanctuary. He had learned the family's daily routines and seemed most comfortable during the quiet evening hours when Emma would do her homework and read aloud from her favorite books. Emma's arthritis symptoms had shown remarkable improvement since Thunder's arrival. Her parents noticed that she spent less time dwelling on her pain and more time focused on helping Thunder feel secure and loved. The responsibility of caring for such a traumatized animal had given Emma a sense of purpose that her previous therapy sessions had struggled to achieve. Her physical therapist commented on her improved mood and increased motivation during their sessions. Thunder's healing process was not without setbacks. Loud noises still sent him scrambling back to his crate, and unexpected visitors caused him to retreat for hours at a time. The mailman's daily arrival triggered panic responses, and Thunder would spend the rest of the afternoon pressed against the back wall of his crate, trembling. Emma learned to recognize these triggers and would position herself near Thunder's crate during these difficult times, reading softly or simply sitting quietly until his breathing returned to normal. One particularly challenging incident occurred when David's brother visited unexpectedly. Thunder had been lying peacefully in the living room when the doorbell rang, followed by loud male voices and heavy footsteps. The sounds triggered memories of his traumatic past, and Thunder's fear response was more intense than anything the family had witnessed since his arrival. He not only retreated to his crate but began showing signs of the aggression that had first landed him in the shelter's dangerous dog section. Emma was in her bedroom during the incident, but she heard Thunder's distressed barking and immediately understood what was happening. Against her parents' wishes, she made her way downstairs to find Thunder lunging against the bars of his crate, his lips pulled back in a snarl that revealed his teeth. The sight would have terrified most people, but Emma saw through the aggressive display to the terrified animal underneath. Instead of backing away, Emma sat down on the floor several feet from Thunder's crate and began speaking in the same calm, gentle voice she had used from their first meeting. She didn't try to approach him or offer treats, understanding that Thunder needed to work through his panic attack without additional pressure. For over an hour, Emma sat with Thunder as he slowly transitioned from aggressive fear back to his normal, anxious but manageable state. David's brother left that day with a new understanding of both Thunder's trauma and Emma's extraordinary connection with the rescued dog. He had witnessed something that went beyond typical pet-owner relationships. Emma had quite literally talked Thunder back from the edge of a psychological cliff, using nothing but her voice and her presence to anchor him during his crisis. Sarah, who arrived later that evening for her weekly check-in, was amazed by the family's description of Emma's intervention during Thunder's panic attack. She explained that what Emma had done was actually a form of crisis intervention that professional animal behaviorists trained years to master. Emma's natural intuition and her own experience with trauma had given her tools that most adults didn't possess. The incident became a turning point in Thunder's recovery. Having survived such an intense trigger with Emma's support seemed to increase his confidence in her ability to keep him safe. Over the following weeks, Thunder began showing signs of trust that surprised everyone involved in his care. He started following Emma around the house at a respectful distance, always maintaining his escape routes but clearly wanting to be near his young protector. Emma's parents began to notice changes in their daughter as well. Her confidence had grown significantly since taking on the role of Thunder's primary support person. She spoke up more in family discussions, showed increased independence in managing her arthritis symptoms, and seemed to have developed a quiet strength that impressed her teachers and medical team. The most significant breakthrough came on a rainy Saturday morning, when Emma was feeling particularly stiff and sore from a weather-related arthritis flare. She had settled on the living room couch with a heating pad and a book, planning to spend the day resting. Thunder, who had been observing from his usual position across the room, slowly approached the couch and gently placed his massive head on the cushion beside Emma's leg. For several minutes, neither Emma nor Thunder moved. This was the first time Thunder had initiated physical contact with any human being since his rescue. Emma continued reading aloud, pretending not to notice the momentous gesture while internally celebrating this sign of Thunder's growing trust. Thunder gradually relaxed his body until he was lying partially on the couch, his head still resting near Emma's lap. When Maria found them an hour later, Thunder was sound asleep with his head on Emma's leg, while Emma continued reading with one small hand resting gently on Thunder's neck. The sight of the traumatized rescue dog finally finding the courage to seek comfort from his young companion brought tears to Maria's eyes. She quietly called Sarah to share the good news, knowing that this breakthrough represented months of patient, consistent love paying off in the most beautiful way possible. That night, Thunder made a decision that would change both his life and Emma's forever. Instead of returning to his crate for the night as he had done every evening since his arrival, Thunder followed Emma upstairs to her bedroom. He positioned himself on the floor beside her bed, close enough to provide comfort but respectful enough to maintain appropriate boundaries. For the first time in either of their lives, both Thunder and Emma slept through the entire night, without waking from pain or nightmares. The transformation in both Thunder and Emma over the following months was remarkable to witness. Thunder had essentially become Emma's shadow, following her throughout the house and positioning himself nearby during her daily activities. His presence seemed to provide Emma with a sense of security and comfort that helped her manage her arthritis pain more effectively. Her parents noticed that she complained less about her symptoms and seemed more willing to engage in physical activities when Thunder was by her side. Emma's medical team was fascinated by the improvements they observed during her regular appointments. Her physical therapist noted increased flexibility and strength, while her rheumatologist commented on Emma's improved pain management strategies. When asked about these positive changes, Emma would simply smile and talk about her best friend Thunder, explaining how taking care of him had taught her new ways to be brave when things hurt. Thunder's healing journey took a significant step forward when he began accompanying Emma on short walks around the neighborhood. Initially, these outings were terrifying for the traumatized dog. Every car door, barking dog, or raised voice would send him into a panic, pulling toward home with desperate urgency. Emma learned to recognize the early signs of Thunder's anxiety and would guide him to quiet spots where they could sit together until he felt ready to continue. Neighborhood children were initially curious about the large Pitbull who had joined their community. Some parents expressed concern about having such a breed around their children. Despite David and Maria's explanations about Thunder's gentle nature with Emma, these concerns led to some uncomfortable conversations and reinforced Thunder's isolation from the broader community. Emma felt the weight of these reactions and became protective of Thunder's reputation, often speaking up to defend him when others made negative comments about pit bulls. One afternoon, while Emma and Thunder were sitting in their front yard, a neighbor's toddler escaped from his mother's supervision and ran directly toward Thunder. The 2-year-old boy had no fear of the large dog and approached with the innocent curiosity typical of young children. Thunder's immediate reaction was to move behind Emma, seeking her protection rather than showing any signs of aggression. The incident could have been a disaster, but instead became a powerful demonstration of Thunder's gentle nature. Emma calmly intercepted the running toddler and gently guided him back to his frantic mother, explaining that Thunder was still learning to feel safe around new people. The mother, expecting to find an aggressive dog, was surprised to see Thunder cowering behind Emma rather than displaying any threatening behavior. This incident became the first of many that would gradually change the neighborhood's perception of Thunder and his relationship with Emma. As Thunder's confidence grew, so did his protective instincts toward Emma. He seemed to sense when she was having particularly difficult days with her arthritis, and would position himself as a natural brace when she needed support walking. During Emma's physical therapy appointments, which Thunder was eventually allowed to attend, he would lie quietly nearby and watch the proceedings with intense focus, as if learning how to better assist his young companion. The bond between Thunder and Emma deepened during Emma's most challenging arthritis flare in months. The weather had turned cold and rainy, triggering severe joint inflammation that left Emma bedridden for several days. Thunder refused to leave her side, positioning himself on the floor beside her bed and only moving when absolutely necessary for food or bathroom breaks. His presence provided Emma with comfort during the long, painful hours when medication offered little relief. David and Maria watched in amazement as Thunder seemed to anticipate Emma's needs before she even expressed them. When Emma needed to get up for the bathroom, Thunder would position himself as a living support rail, allowing her to steady herself against his strong frame. When she was reading and dropped her book due to stiff fingers, Thunder would gently pick it up and place it within her reach. These behaviors were never taught. They emerged naturally from Thunder's desire to care for the person who had shown him unconditional love. Emma's teachers began to notice changes in her academic performance and social interactions. Her confidence had grown significantly since Thunder's arrival, and she was more willing to participate in class discussions and group activities. When classmates asked about her dog, Emma would proudly share Thunder's story, helping to educate others about the true nature of pit bulls and the importance of giving rescued animals second chances. The local animal shelter took notice of Thunder's remarkable transformation and asked if Emma and her family would be willing to share their story with other potential adopters. Sarah believed that seeing Thunder's success might encourage other families to consider adopting dogs with traumatic histories. Emma eagerly agreed, understanding that their story might help other animals find the loving homes they deserved. During their first speaking engagement at the shelter, Emma stood beside Thunder as he calmly greeted visitors and demonstrated how far he had come from the cowering, aggressive dog who had first arrived months earlier. Emma explained to the audience that healing takes time and patience, but that the rewards of helping a traumatized animal learn to trust again were immeasurable. She spoke about how taking care of Thunder had helped her manage her own challenges and had taught her that being different or having difficulties didn't make someone less worthy of love. Thunder's transformation from a fearful, aggressive rescue dog to a gentle, protective companion had taken nearly a year of consistent love and patience. The dog who once couldn't tolerate human presence now served as Emma's constant companion and source of comfort. His journey from trauma to healing had paralleled Emma's own growth in managing her chronic condition, creating a partnership that benefited both of them in ways no one could have predicted. As Thunder settled into his role as Emma's devoted companion, it became clear that their connection was something truly special. The traumatized rescue dog had found his purpose in caring for the young girl who had first shown him kindness, while Emma had discovered strength and confidence through her role as Thunder's protector and friend. Thunder's reputation in the neighborhood underwent a complete transformation as more residents witnessed his gentle interactions with Emma and other children. Word spread about the dangerous Pitbull who had turned out to be one of the most well-behaved dogs in the community. Parents who had initially crossed the street to avoid Thunder began stopping to chat with Emma and ask about her remarkable companion. These positive interactions helped Thunder build confidence with strangers, though he always remained closest to Emma's side during social encounters. Emma's leadership in advocating for Thunder and educating others about Pitbull prejudice caught the attention of her school principal. When the school decided to implement a program about empathy and overcoming challenges, they invited Emma to share her story with younger students. Emma eagerly accepted, seeing it as an opportunity to teach children about the importance of looking beyond surface appearances to understand the true nature of others. The presentation at Emma's school was a turning point for both her and Thunder. Standing before an audience of curious elementary students, Emma explained how she and Thunder had both faced challenges that made them different from others. She talked about her arthritis and Thunder's trauma, drawing parallels between physical pain and emotional wounds. Thunder sat calmly beside her throughout the presentation, occasionally allowing brave students to pet him under Emma's careful supervision. One particularly memorable moment occurred when a shy student asked Emma how she knew Thunder wouldn't hurt anyone. Emma's response demonstrated wisdom beyond her years as she explained that Thunder had learned to trust because someone had taken the time to understand his fear and show him kindness. She emphasized that both people and animals could heal from difficult experiences when given love, patience, and understanding. The success of Emma's school presentation led to invitations to speak at other schools and community events. Each appearance helped challenge negative stereotypes about pit bulls, while showcasing the healing power of the human-animal bond. Thunder seemed to understand his role in these presentations, remaining calm and gentle even in chaotic environments filled with excited children and curious adults. Emma's medical appointments became opportunities to showcase Thunder's natural therapy dog abilities. Her rheumatologist was amazed by the correlation between Emma's improved pain management and Thunder's constant presence. The doctor noted that Emma's stress levels appeared significantly lower during appointments when Thunder was allowed to accompany her, leading to better cooperation during examinations and more accurate assessments of her condition. The relationship between Thunder and Emma had evolved into something that resembled a professional therapy dog partnership, though their bond was deeper and more intuitive than any formal training could have created. Thunder seemed to sense Emma's pain levels before she did, often positioning himself for support before Emma even realized she needed help. His presence during her worst arthritis flares provided comfort that no medication could match. As Thunder's confidence continued to grow, he began showing interest in other activities beyond caring for Emma. He started greeting David and Maria with gentle tail wags when they returned home from work, and he began exploring the backyard independently rather than always staying within sight of Emma. These signs of normal dog behavior were celebrations for the family, indicating that Thunder was finally feeling secure enough to express his own personality and interests. The most significant development in Thunder's recovery came when a neighbor's elderly dog wandered into the Richardsons' yard during a thunderstorm. Instead of retreating in fear or showing aggression, Thunder gently approached the confused, frightened animal and guided it to shelter under the porch. Emma watched from her bedroom window as Thunder demonstrated the same protective instincts toward the lost dog that he showed toward her. Daily, this incident revealed that Thunder's capacity for empathy and care extended beyond his relationship with Emma. He had developed into a naturally nurturing animal who sought to comfort others in distress, a remarkable transformation for a dog who had once been too terrified to accept comfort himself. The sight of Thunder caring for another vulnerable creature brought tears to Emma's eyes and confirmed what she had always believed about his true nature. Emma's own growth during this period was equally remarkable. Her increased confidence and sense of purpose had led to improved grades, stronger friendships, and better management of her arthritis symptoms. She had become an advocate not only for Thunder but for all animals in need, volunteering at the shelter, where Thunder had been rescued, and helping other traumatized dogs learn to trust again. The partnership between Emma and Thunder had created positive changes that extended far beyond their individual healing journeys. Their story had touched countless lives in their community, changing perceptions about pit bulls and demonstrating the powerful impact of giving second chances to those who needed them most. Emma's parents often marveled at how adopting one traumatized dog had led to so many unexpected blessings and opportunities for growth. As the first anniversary of Thunder's adoption approached, the Richardson family reflected on the incredible journey they had all shared. The fearful, aggressive dog who had cowered in the corner of a shelter cage had become a beloved family member and community ambassador. Emma, who had once struggled with the limitations imposed by her chronic condition, had discovered strength and purpose through her role as Thunder's advocate and protector. The transformation was so complete that visitors to their home often found it hard to believe Thunder had ever been considered dangerous or unadoptable. He would greet approved guests with gentle enthusiasm while always maintaining his protective watch over Emma. His presence at family gatherings and community events had become a source of pride for the Richardson family, who never tired of sharing his remarkable recovery story. 2 years after Thunder's adoption, the Richardson family received news that would test their bond in an unexpected way. Emma's medical team recommended that she participate in a specialized arthritis treatment program at a children's hospital 3 hours away from home. The intensive program would require Emma to stay at the hospital for 2 weeks, receiving round-the-clock medical care and therapy that wasn't available locally. While the treatment offered hope for significant improvement in Emma's condition, it would mean the longest separation between Emma and Thunder since they had found each other. The family's initial instinct was to decline the treatment opportunity, knowing how difficult the separation would be for both Emma and Thunder. However, Emma surprised everyone by insisting that she should participate in the program, even though it meant leaving Thunder behind. Her maturity and determination to pursue every opportunity for improvement showed how much she had grown since Thunder's arrival in their lives. Thunder seemed to sense that something unusual was happening as the family prepared for Emma's departure. He became more clingy than usual, following Emma even more closely and showing signs of anxiety when she packed her hospital bag. The night before her departure, Thunder refused to sleep in his usual spot on the floor beside Emma's bed, instead positioning himself across the doorway as if to prevent her from leaving. The morning of Emma's departure was emotional for the entire family. Thunder watched anxiously as Emma's parents loaded her bags into the car, his intelligent eyes seeming to understand that this goodbye would be different from their usual daily separations. Emma spent extra time saying goodbye to Thunder, promising him that she would return and asking him to be brave while she was gone. She left behind several items of clothing that carried her scent, hoping they would provide Thunder with some comfort during her absence. The first few days of Emma's absence were challenging for Thunder in ways the family hadn't anticipated. He refused to eat his meals with his usual enthusiasm and spent hours lying by the front door waiting for Emma's return. David and Maria tried their best to maintain Thunder's routine and provide comfort, but it was clear that nothing could truly replace Emma's presence in his life. Sarah, the behavioral specialist who had first worked with Thunder, visited to offer support and guidance during this difficult period. Emma, meanwhile, was dealing with her own challenges at the hospital. The intensive treatment program was physically demanding and emotionally draining, requiring her to push through significant pain and discomfort. She missed Thunder's comforting presence during the most difficult moments and found herself talking about him constantly to her medical team and fellow patients. The nurses became familiar with Thunder's story and encouraged Emma to share photos and videos of her beloved companion. The breakthrough in Thunder's adjustment came when David had an idea that would change everything. He set up video calls between Emma and Thunder, positioning his laptop so Thunder could see and hear Emma's voice. The moment Thunder heard Emma's familiar voice coming from the computer screen, his entire demeanor changed. His tail began wagging frantically, and he pressed his nose against the screen, trying to reach his beloved companion through the technology that connected them across the miles. These daily video calls became the highlight of both Emma's and Thunder's days. Emma would read to Thunder through the screen, just as she had done during their early days together, while Thunder would sit perfectly still, hanging on every word. The medical staff at the hospital were amazed by the positive impact these calls had on Emma's mood and cooperation with her treatment plan. She became more motivated to participate in painful therapies, knowing that Thunder was waiting to see her progress during their evening conversations. As Emma's 2-week treatment program neared its end, both she and Thunder began showing signs of excitement about their upcoming reunion. Emma's medical team was thrilled with her progress, noting significant improvements in her joint mobility and pain levels. The intensive treatment had been successful beyond their expectations, giving Emma new tools and medications to manage her arthritis more effectively than ever. Before Thunder's behavior during the final days before Emma's return showed his remarkable intelligence and emotional depth. He began positioning himself by the front door hours before Emma's expected arrival time, as if his internal clock was counting down the moments until her return. His appetite returned and he showed renewed interest in his toys and activities, seemingly understanding that the separation was almost over. The reunion between Emma and Thunder was everything the family had hoped it would be and more. The moment Emma walked through the front door, Thunder's joyful greeting was unlike anything they had ever witnessed. He danced around Emma with pure happiness, his entire body wiggling with excitement while he carefully avoided jumping on her in a way that might cause pain. Emma sat on the floor and allowed Thunder to shower her with gentle kisses, both of them clearly overwhelmed with relief and joy at being together again. That night, Thunder resumed his position beside Emma's bed, but with a new sense of purpose and devotion. The separation had only strengthened their bond, proving that their connection could survive challenges and distance. Emma's parents marveled at the loyalty and love that had sustained both Emma and Thunder through their time apart, recognizing that they had witnessed something truly extraordinary in the relationship between their daughter and her rescued companion. The success of Emma's treatment program and her reunion with Thunder marked the beginning of a new chapter in their lives together. Emma's improved health meant more opportunities for adventures and activities that she and Thunder could share. Thunder's demonstrated resilience during their separation showed that his healing was complete enough to handle life's inevitable challenges without reverting to his former fearful state. As Emma settled back into her routine at home, she reflected on how much both she and Thunder had grown during their time together. The traumatized rescue dog who had once been too afraid to accept human kindness had become her greatest source of strength and comfort. In return, Emma had discovered that helping another heal had given her own life deeper meaning and purpose than she had ever imagined possible. Their story had become legendary in their community, inspiring other families to consider adopting animals with special needs or traumatic histories. The local shelter now regularly shared Thunder and Emma's story with potential adopters, demonstrating that sometimes the most damaged animals can become the most devoted companions when given the right environment and unconditional love. Looking toward the future, Emma and Thunder faced each day knowing that they had found in each other exactly what they both needed to thrive. Their bond had been tested by separation and strengthened by reunion, proving that true healing partnerships can overcome any obstacle when built on a foundation of mutual love, trust, and understanding.